Rolling numbers, rock and rolling, got my Kiss records out. Good evening, welcome to Friday Night Vinyl. No, I'm not going crazy and I'm not yet drunk. This is my first drink. That was a line or two lines from the song Surrender by Cheap Trick. So as you've seen from the thumbnail, the topic of tonight's Friday Night Vinyl is what is the fuss, or what's the fuss about Cheap Trick. Particularly classic Cheap Trick, I want to see it between their debut 77 LP and 1990. So we will talk all things Cheap Trick, the band from Rockford, Illinois, who I have loved for the past 35 years. Fantastic band. I've seen them live in concert 3 times, one of which in Wolverhampton is singularly the loudest gig I've ever been to. And given that I have seen Metallica live, I've seen Danzig live, and I've seen Motley Crue live and Skid Row live, then the fact that Cheap Trick are the band that I couldn't hear for a full week following the gig says something from that gig in Wolverhampton. But what an amazing band. I think that the reason I'm dedicating this What's the Fuss episode of Cheap Trick is I still think they're underrated. I still think that they belong in the pantheon of an Aerosmith or a Doors or a Lynyrd Skynyrd as a classic American rock band. And I think there's a couple of things that make them so underrated. One is the kind of stigma attached to their 1988, I think it was, #1 single, The Flame, that torch ballad, for pardon the pun. And the other is the fact that everyone focuses on one live album that they made, which was an excellent live album, but there's a lot more to classic Cheap Trick than those two things. And I think they should have been a much bigger band, should be a much bigger band than both sales and reputation affords them. So shall we get stuck into what's the fuss about Cheap Trick? I put my drink down, starting with their debut 1977 LP, self-titled, produced by Jack Douglas. 3 things come to the fore immediately on here. The excellence of Rick Nielsen as a guitarist. He writes almost all of the Cheap Trick material, and what a songwriter. He's able to write entire albums of excellent material. It's very Beatles influenced, but his songwriting is fantastic. Second thing about Cheap Trick is the vocals of still their vocalist Robin Zander. Amazing singer, able to carry a hit ballad like The Flame, or carry a punk influenced rocker, and change between those two things in a whisper. Amazing live too. And then, sadly no longer in the band, the third thing I would note is the drumming of Bunny Carlos. What a drummer, able to really thump those tubs, but kind of understated drummer too. But you can listen just to the drumming of Bunny Carlos in a Cheap Trick album and be fantastic. But this came out of the blocks, this debut, and immediately is excellent. You know, songs like Hello Kitties and Taxman, Mr. Thief, and Mando Cello on this. It's I mean, some of the lyrics are a bit risky. They're kind of they don't mind pushing it sometimes, and obviously it's released in 1977, but it's an amazing debut. It wasn't one of those debuts where they were still developing as a band when it came out, so you can without risk of impunity or disappointment start with the Cheap Trick debut. In fact, I would suggest that you buy these in the chronological order, or try these in the chronological order I'm about to explain them and see their development. So yeah, Cheap Trick's debut LP, self-titled, an excellent place to start. Then we start to get into the really amazing phase of Cheap Trick. The next 4, 5 or 6 LPs are frankly essential, and the next one is in colour and in black and white. This is an amazing album. This just shows the kind of cynical, the kind of record industry is. Lots of Cheap Trick albums feature Tom Peterson, the bass player, and Robin Zander on the front cover because they're kind of good looking, slim, and then the back covers tend to feature Rick Nielsen and Buddy Carlos. But anyway, that's the industry. I'm afraid it's the music industry, so they kind of played on these two chaps being on the front. But what a track listing on this LP from songs like Big Eyes to I Want You to Want Me's on this, the original studio version. Oh Caroline, Southern Girls is an amazing album, and What a Rocker, Come On is. So this is truly classic Cheap Trick period. There's not a bad song on In Colour. It's up there with the real pantheon of Cheap Trick classics. Then there was no let up, because the next Cheap Trick studio album I think may even be their peak. It is the album Heaven Tonight from 1978. I want to say This is an astonishing LP. There is not a note wasted on this. It is an effervescent rocker with incredible driving songs like Surrender. The title track is a ballad with an amazing string section to it. The rocker Alfreda's scene is absolutely huge, and you should hear the drumming of Bunny Carlos on that. And How Are You is an amazing song. But anyway, every track on Heaven Tonight is sensational. This may be one of the two key Cheap Trick albums ever, and potentially their artistic peak. Rick Nielsen's songwriting on this is just astonishing. And then you get the LP that kind of was sealed and maybe just hammered their fate a bit, which is the At Budokan Japanese recorded, obviously live LP, which was their big hit. The live version of I Want You to Want Me on here, and what else was the other big hit from this album? In That a Shame. I mean, it's great. It's a great kamikaze yellow vinyl. I'm not sure that is very inclusive in 2026 to call it that, but anyway, well, that's what it was called, kamikaze yellow vinyl. It's a great live album, and it captures this kind of screaming Japanese female audience in the background. And yes, there are good versions of their songs, but I think it caught on because of I Want You to Want Me, and they captured a moment. But I don't think, despite its reputation, that this is the zenith of Cheap Trick, despite I think being a million seller in the US. So yes, it's great, but despite its reputation, it's not the Cheap Trick album to own. It's a live album. It's a good live album. Then they continued. It's still in their golden period, really. Dream Police. I've said that Heaven Tonight is their best album, but this is quite close. Actually, the title track is a bubble pop rock absolute classic. Way of the World is amazing on this, and I Know What I Want, which is an amazing rocker, and then the absolutely epic I Need Your Love is on here too. It's amazing, and there's no bad songs on Dream Police either. What a fantastic cover too, and actually all four members on this cover rather than just the two good looking guys. So again, these on vinyl original pressings, because they're still not the most popular band in the world. Certainly in the UK, talking under £10 or no more than £10 to £12 for name copies of something like Dream Police or Heaven Tonight. So once you get into it, epic record with originals, well produced. I think it's again Jack Douglas, unless I'm wrong, but it's fantastic. Actually, no, this was produced by Tom Werman. Tom Werman was Dream Police, but excellent. I think their popularity had dropped off a bit, which is odd by this time because it was post At Budokan, but never mind. Amazing LP, and then still a great album. All Shook Up from 1980 is really good. What's on this album? Again, you have Stop This Game is amazing, and Can't Stop It, But I'm Gonna Try. High Priest of Rhythmic Noise, I think, is on this LP too. So it's really good. So probably the kind of tail end of their really classic stuff. But I'll come on to some amazing Cheap Trick albums. So that is that, and then still really good. But their bassist Tom Peterson left. They lost a bit of something. But One on One is still an excellent LP. This is chock full of kind of short 2 to 3 minute tunes. Some fantastic ones too. I would say that She's Tight is up there with the best. I Want You on this is amazing too, as is the title track One on One. So again, chock full of Rick Nielsen's songwriting, produced by Roy Thomas Baker. This one, it's got kind of a punk ethos to it. So really good still. Tom Peterson had left for a while. He comes back into the band later, but it's a good LP and still worth having. And then following up with the same lineup again, a kind of a sister LP to One on One is Next Position Please. More pop orientated than rock, I would say. The first track, I Can't Take It, which is actually written by Robin Zander. What a pop classic that is, from this LP. But yeah, punchy tracks, more pop orientated. Title track is excellent, as is Dancing the Night Away. Why Oh Why Oh Why and Heaven's Falling is a great pop song too. But just not quite up there with their zenith, but still, once you're into Cheap Trick, you should own Next Position, please, for that period. Next one I think is not many people's favourite, but I do like the Standing on the Edge LP from 1985, still with John Brandt on bass, not Tom Peterson. But always loved the track Tonight You're Mine from this time around. Is fantastic. Little Sister, the opening track, and How About You, which is a gorgeous rocker. So yeah, 1985. Again, we're back to Jack Douglas here, going back to their classic producer, and it's a good LP. And it hasn't fallen this into the trap of 1980s synth stuff. It's mostly a guitar album, pop rock guitar album, so it's really good. Then do not buy an album by Cheap Trick called The Doctor. I refuse to have that on vinyl. It is the worst Cheap Trick album I've ever heard. It is full of synths and stodgy crap, so The Doctor is to be avoided. They will admit that that's their worst album, but they came back online with something that was worthwhile, with Lap of Luxury from 1988. This is the one that includes The Flame, that big US #1 actually, but there's more to it than that. It had a cover of Don't Be Cruel on here too, but the great track for me from this is the opener, Let Go, which is just a gorgeous pop rocker, which is what Cheap Trick do really well. Again, Rick Nielsen's songwriting on that. But yeah, the Lap of Luxury, good LP. The Flame, well, it is what it is. It's a torch ballad. It's not really about what Cheap Trick are about, and that's how you get some frustration with Cheap Trick, that their record company wanted them to be one thing. The band, I think, wanted to go in another, but that's the commercial world of rock and pop. And then the last, for me, the last classic Cheap Trick album, and many Cheap Trick fans will disagree, is probably Busted from 1990. Absolutely excellent, really balanced between pop and their rockers. The opener Back in Blue is absolutely fantastic, as is the second track, the propulsive. I can't understand it. So this for me is where the real classic period ends. The other Cheap Trick album I would definitely buy is their self-titled from 1977. I don't think it's ever been released on vinyl, but it's that is probably 1977 self-titled, the hardest and heaviest Cheap Trick album there's ever been made. So that is worthwhile. If that was ever released on vinyl, you should get that. And they've made some decent LPs. Other than that, Woke Up With a Monster is good. The last LP, actually All Washed Up, is okay, but I think every band I think has its peak, and I think the period that I've just showed you, disagree with me, is the essence of Cheap Trick, and why I think they should be a band as big as The Doors or Lynyrd Skynyrd or Aerosmith in terms of their reputation and their sales, but sadly are not. But who cares if we can enjoy their music, and they've had a great career, I think, and they're still together as a band, other than Bunny Carlos is no longer in the band. Then if you haven't checked out Cheap Trick, then that is what the fuss is about. Everyone have a good weekend. Peace. See you later.